Hello, fellow UBI enthusiasts. Here today on our UBI4ME call, you have Marcel
Hiya.
and you have myself, Daniela. Hello, I hope every one of you is keeping up to date with everything that's happening in the world and still manages to stay sane and safe, ideally. I hope that your country isn't impacted too much by political rhetoric and everything that's happening right now, but ultimately, what can we do? And that is my point that I would like to make in our call today. With everything that's happening right now, and yes, I am referring to Trump being a bully, trying to wreck the whole world by applying tariffs to other countries, trying to avoid talking about taking over Greenland, Canada, the Panama Canal, and God knows which other countries as well. Um, Let's see where it leads. In the meantime, we must remember we have agency. We have the power to choose how we are going to react to it. I, for one, I've stopped doom scrolling. I've stopped going to the news for the large part because whilst there's always something to talk about, I don't really see the point of talking about it much. After all, Trump is a criminal. He's really a bit weird, as the Harris campaign pointed out. I mean, look at his face color and everything. Imagine back to, or think back to high school. If one of your high school colleagues had come into school with face color like that, wouldn't you just have laughed at them? Maybe that's the way to go. Now, how does that link back to UBI? Well, a universal basic income, by definition, is a monthly payment to every single person in whatever jurisdiction you're thinking of. Every single person receives it, irrespective of whether they're going to work, have other income, whether they're rich or poor, whether they're male or female. Doesn't matter what skin color they have, what ideology, religion, whatever. Everyone receives it on a monthly basis with no end date forever. That may, or plans to implement that may be hampered with what's going on right now. After all, a lot of countries are now spending more on defense, also known as arms, weapons, killing machines for short. And while some people may see the positives in terms of employment and jobs, we have been there once before in the early or in the late 1930s, early 1940s, mainly in Europe, and it didn't end that well. So I would think that a better way forward, as I mentioned, is to simply ignore the US and try and build your own economy, try and build companies within your own city, within your own village, try and help entrepreneurs as much as possible. After all, it is people that have bright ideas that lead to better products and services to then circulate the money. And as long as the money circulates, the economy is generally doing well. And again, sorry,
No, I
Marcel.
think that's a key point. The focus on GDP and GDP growth in particular is a bit distorted because, as you say, all arms production goes towards GDP, but arms production doesn't generate anything. It's designed to destroy things. In fact, the net wealth of a country must go down if you spend money on arms and ammunition. If you just think about it from, let's say, fireworks. Fireworks are a similar type of thing. They may provide a bit of joy, but they don't create anything. You literally are setting fire to the money because you buy something and then set fire to it. And Russia's GDP is doing very well if you just look at the GDP perspective, because it is spending all its money. Well, not all of it, it's only about 40%, but 40% is a lot more than the 4% or 5% that Trump is pushing the NATO members to spend, but 40% of their GDP on the military, tanks and soldiers and things like that, and then literally sending them off and setting fire to them. Whether it's the Ukrainians bombing their tanks or whether it's their own missiles that are exploding, literally is just destroying things. And if we look at it from that perspective, the net increase in the wealth of a country is not going to go up just because GDP has gone up. So spending money on production doesn't necessarily improve matters. You can spend 40% of your GDP. Russia's economy is not doing well because it's not money that's been spent wisely and money that's been spent on growing things. I know not all things that we enjoy actually produce things. It's we enjoy it. For example, fireworks. We at least have some fun watching the sparkly lights in the sky, and we get enjoyment out of it. So therefore, the net happiness, I suppose, I think is the happiness quotient that people talk about, increases. But it's about that. What do we want to spend our money on? What do we want to spend our time on? What do we want to produce? Do you want to produce things that make people happier? Do you want to produce things that benefit people so that you've got new stuff, that you can create stuff and produce stuff, or services themselves, where people feel better from the services that they're getting, things like that. So positive things that we contribute to the society. Another one is debt relief. Money spent on recovering debt contributes to GDP. Now, I don't see how that is contributing to GDP at all. All you're doing is running after people that can't afford to repay their loans. And considering that a contribution to society, a contribution to GDP, I think that we have to look at things differently, not just focus on GDP. And tariffs again are just a way of forcing the local population to pay for somebody else's ego to try and bully people into submission. It's not contributing anything to anybody. It's just putting up barriers so that if somebody does produce something that's better quality in one place, they suddenly can't sell it in another place because of the tariffs, or at least not sell it for the same price. People in the local economies have to buy a product of lower quality for the same price because of the tariffs involved. So I think it's a way, the way we look at the economy, where we look at what is positive, what's negative, needs to change as well.
I completely agree with what you say, and my first thought when you were talking about fireworks and fireworks not actually producing anything, I thought, yes, but they're so nice. And my second thought was another role that is not producing anything per se is a parent who brings up their child, tucks the child in, helps the child learn how to read, makes sure that the child does its homework, makes sure that the child is going to grow up to be a decent human being. Currently, this role is generally not being paid for.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin. There's a lot of positive work being done, services being provided that are not part of GDP. So again, it's a false measure, and B, a failed measure because it doesn't capture some of the good stuff that's been introduced.
Yes. So on that happy note, that positive work is not going to stop. So don't ever think that there won't be fireworks anymore. Don't ever think that there won't be good parents anymore. The good stuff will continue because I know there are people like you and people like us out there who are creating things, who are trying to build a better world, who are trying to do something positive and not just destroy and tear down and bully our way through. But those of us who want to have a better world, not only for ourselves, but for other people too, for our children. And I don't have children myself, but I want my siblings' children, I want my neighbors' children to be better off than I was, because that is the only way humanity as a whole can be better off. So please remember your power as a human being. You can vote in your local elections for better representatives. You can go and stand yourself in local elections, in school boards. You can join Greenpeace if you like, all sorts of different organizations need your help. They need your agency. They need your power as a human being to get through those next few months and years that may be a little bit darker than what we're used to. So use that creativity of yours, use the power, use your skills, or create new skills for yourself in order to bring about the world you want to see. If you want to see a universal basic income being implemented, again, as I mentioned, you can vote local elections, regional elections, national elections, should they be planned in your country again. Or you can join us on our calls, have a chat with us, join us updating our website, our Mastodon and Blue Sky accounts, things like that. Let's have let's have more people come together with clearer, specific ideas where we can make a real difference. And that is what I would like to suggest and propose for today. Create something. Go out there. Think about what is dear to your heart. Create something that you would like to see in the world. And it doesn't matter what. It could be a drawing with your daughter, for example, and just spending time with her or your son or both of them at the same time, if you like. Do something that's good for you and good for others as well. And keep going. Talk with other people about the positive, creative things that you do in your life. Talk
Making a
about,
positive contribution.
yes, do something. Send us a picture, a little video, or just a message to tell us what you have done. Again, sharing. It really helps to share with other people. And whilst I currently worry that UBI is going to take a little bit of a back seat, I don't think the discussion is going to go away. And who knows? Trump may destroy the American economy to the point where the only way out is a universal basic income. That's a possibility too. I hope UBI comes about in a more positive, in a more managed way. But who knows what's going to happen? I'm not even going to speculate. In the meantime, until we know how to play it out, look after yourself, do something positive, create something, go out there, share a little bit of joy with someone else and see how it grows in the way when you're sharing with other people. That pretty much is all from me. If you have anything else that you would like to mention, Marcel.
Not at the moment. I'm busy working on the financing of UBI, not just within countries, but regions and globally. You know, how affordable is a UBI, both with today's taxation rates and national insurance contributions and things like that, but also looking forward. So when we talk about, for example, Russia spending 40% of their GDP on arms, it's very easy to change the budget allocation, right, to make sure that things are positive if you want to. So that countries have the ability to make big changes when they see that it's working in a positive direction, if that's what they actually want. And I think you're right that a UBI is going to be shown to be the one way to get economy going again, to get people spending money and getting the cash flowing within an economy again. And people very quickly realize that it's not just about making the minimum payment to people to get them going, but this is how you get an economy really churning. People making contributions and positive contributions. Less people focusing on those negative industries which are just destroying value, as opposed to people creating value. Whether it is from a GDP perspective or not, it's irrelevant. It's not about whether you can monetize the products or services that you're producing, but whether you're making a positive contribution to the world. And the areas that we do have or do remain with scarcity, that's where money will still will have a need to be able to control the distribution thereof. But where we have abundance, then we shouldn't be relying on money to provide those services. And expecting people to be able to monetize whatever they're doing is backwards thinking. But let's see where we go in the next few years. I think the changes that are happening within the AI and automation world will will have a huge impact over the next decade. So, those people who think that we just need to bunker down for the next 4 years, the next 4 years are going to be more than just getting past Trump and what he's up to. It's going to be dealing with the technological advances that are going to happen, and they're going to happen big time. So. And I think you're right. Getting the message out there, making a positive contribution, but also speaking to your friends and finding out from them what they think of the UBI, and if they don't want a UBI, why do they not want a UBI? And get back to us. We want to make the articles and blog posts and things like that to help people understand what it is that is holding people back, what it is that individuals think is bad about a UBI. We've had so many pilots demonstrating its positivity. Why are people still inherently negative about it? So it's also about going out there and talking to people about UBI.
Yeah. And then sometimes the journey takes longer than necessary. One thinks, for example, wasn't it Semmelweis who came up with the idea that if you wash your hands between visiting a corpse and helping a woman deliver the baby, that possibly the woman has a higher chance of surviving. It took 30 years, 40 years, something like that, because his fellow doctors suggested that no, he's crazy, it doesn't work like that. A simple thing like washing hands surely is not going to save your life. But yes, it did, and it still does. And just, I don't know the numbers, so please, if somebody does have the numbers, write into us, get in touch. But quite a few women could have survived childbirth simply if the doctor had washed their hands.
Yeah.
Unnecessary loss of life, in my opinion.
And change happens quickly. That kind of change also happened very quickly. And I think it's also important to realize that short term things seem to change slowly, but long term things change very quickly.
Yes, that is true. So fingers crossed that whatever changes economically are happening right now, that they're leading to a better outcome. I, for one, am positive, even if I don't know yet how the change is going to happen. I'm positive it will, and I hope that you guys are, or you out there, are along on the journey and you help make it happen as well.
Sounds good.
And with that, I hope you have a good week. Join us next month for a quick chat on universal basic income and with some more concrete ways and examples of how to make it happen. See you then. Bye bye.
Bye.